Yeah. So basically, we're just gonna jump right in. And before I go into anything, and I pretty much want everyone to write a short, very short square poem, a 2x2. With a 2x2, all you need to do is actually wondering. Oh, actually, no. I was trying to figure out if there's a way to no, I won't do that. So all you have to do is put like a plus, like just a little plus, and then you have those four boxes, right? Just right outside of it. With that, that's pretty much it. I want you to write it. I want you to figure out what is your version of a square poem, and the whole idea is for something to be read horizontally and vertically. So I kind of like think about you might have the walk, and might have like that's going horizontally from the top to. You might have the talk, like that starts like vertically, and then you might have talk lively, right? That word. So you also have walk lively and talk lively. So it can be very simple, however you interpret it. And I'll give very like, don't even think about it. I want you to try and do this even around 3 minutes. So I'll check in around 2:15. Get ready to screen share so y'all can kind of get a sense a little bit of even what it might look like. Okay, so 2:14. Okay, cool. And if anyone have like some interesting 2x2s that you want to share, you can even just put in the chat. Like definitely use the chat. And yeah. If anyone actually has one to let's see. All right. Yes, today was, and then good. Today was good. Today is good. Nice. So now actually your square poem is now doing like a nice sort of like a loop from the top into the good. I like that. We empower. Oh, Rin probably need to have another one, but okay. A yellow, a silver sun. Nice. A yellow sun, silver sun, nice. Yeah, and then great. Climb up, climb down, down here, up here. Exactly. We empower. Oh, see me, now you, see now, me, you. We think. Cool. Let's see my post come through. Oh yeah, so Ren, you probably just gonna have to write it separately. Um, pretty fast. Anger rising like steam, anger like rising steam, or right. Good. All right, nice. We listen, we empower, we listen, empower intentionally, listen intentionally. Good. Close touches, reach far, close reach, touches far, reach far. Nice. Dope. All right, cool. He did. He had I. Nice, beautiful. So I'm gonna like get ready to get on the roll. So pretty much, all right. So everyone, y'all already did the 2x2 square poem. Now the thing about like you might think that that's so small or whatever, but at the same time, it's like with sentences, you are whenever we're talking, we kind of like have a intuition for the next word that is supposed to come. Unless we're stuttering, just like I said, those words, like, it doesn't make sense. So we know that that's not part of a sentence. But unless you're stuttering, you will definitely understand the intuition about what word is going to follow another word. So when you have like these 2x2 grids, they're going to potentially extend even further. So when we're going to actually sort of get on a roll right quick. So I'm going to talk a little bit, and then we're going to get to like a more serious prompt, and then talk bit talk a bit prompt, have everyone engage. Love settling, nice. Love our settling naps, nice. And yeah, like that. Love settling our naps. Thank you. Great. So thank you everyone again for being here. I am basically so, oh man, I'm so excited about square poems and multi-directional forms. If anyone is not familiar with this, and usually in poetry you have linear lines. In the case that you usually have like a block of text, and it can be of any line length, 13 words, then 5 words, 7 words, then 1 word, however it may be. But the way that we read, usually in the English language, is from left to right, and we keep on going as we go down the line. So as we kind of like going down the line, we're still going in one direction. Whenever we're traveling from the first word onto the last line, we're going in one direction. Then we loop to the next line, but it's kind of like just a curve. It's not even more so of a break, or I mean, it is a line break, but it's not in the sense of like breaking the momentum or the trajectory of the narrative. We are continuing with this narrative as it goes down the page. But in multi-directional forms, which I probably should just get ready to show you one. Let me actually skip past all this. All right, there we go. Here we go. So in multi-directional forms, something like this, right? We have Time to Just, his famous, the Burt Williams, George Walker paradox, which is a contrapuntal. Basically, you have these 2 columns that are 2 poems that are all supposed to be read as one. So on the very top, you have Sing Like Me, Jonah in the charcoal hold of the whale, be smiling till the crowd starts to cry, this nobody, born to riddle all about race. And I'll just stop there. Over here on the right side, you have doing justice to my juba jig, see how I dance, just might be playing you for a fool. You see, this face got them laughing loud like me. I'll take a pause there and then read them together. Sing like me, Jonah in the charcoal hold of the whale, doing justice to my juba jig. See how I dance? Be smiling till the crowd starts to cry. This nobody just might be playing you for a fool. You see, this face born to riddle all about race. A sure bet nobody got them laughing loud like me. So in this contrapuntal, we're not focused on this, but I feel like this is a very a good way sort of easing our way into the understanding of this square poem, is that when you have like words like whale or nobody on the left side, right? And then on the right side, you have dance and face. These are words that are going in 2 directions. So whale, in the charcoal hold of the whale, is going in the direction of doing justice to my juba jig, but it's also going in the direction of hold of the whale, be smiling till the crowd starts to cry. So the word is being, this single word, the word that's at the end of a line is being stretched into 2 directions. So that is really what the square poem is doing, but the difference is that every single word is doing that same thing, doing that same function that contrapuntal, that word at the end of a line is doing. So that's sort of like just a summary of that. But I need to not go there and skip over the whole presentation that I created. I'm like sort of doing a different direction, but let me just start here and then kind of go the order that I planned. So today we have like, oh, I'm taking off the, there's a phrase in chess. I love chess. And there's a like phrase that like in the opening, you play like a book, middle game, play like a magician, end game, play like a machine. And so I sort of like outlined it based on that of like the history and literature of the square poem, which we'll sort of like talk about very briefly, and then talk about tricks, tips, and multi-dimensional trips. And for the last thing, the end game, it says editing in the range of syntax, but that's more in the middle game. The end game is more so about like how this can feature in like people in the programmers and coders who might be able to actually create a layout for pieces like this to thrive on on a digital space. So we're gonna keep on going. So the opening. All right, so word squares. All right, cool. All right, now I'm a little bit grounded. I'm a little bit grounded. So let me look at this time. Cool. Thank you. All right. Word squares. This is sort of where I started way early on when I was thinking about this. It was like early on in the sort of very beginning of the pandemic, I think. I'm not entirely sure, but it's somewhere around there. I started playing around with sort of like these little games, and I didn't know what it was. Actually, I did create a word poem, sorry, a square poem, but it was doing the 2x2, just like we all just did. I started there, and then I found out about these word squares and found out about this famous Seder Arepo Tenet opera Rodas, which is a famous word square that was popularized. It was in a famous art piece that it's like this little plate that's like in the far back of the art piece, and it had this word square, and it's kind of like in relationship to this this idea called magic squares. And magic squares, which I should have put in this, I didn't put a magic square in here, but a magic square is basically have a bunch of think about Sudoku. Sudokus are magic squares, in which where you have all those different numbers, right, and in the columns or the rows of the columns, and they never repeat in a column or a row. That is a magic square. So now in word squares, they're not doing it's not always the same thing, because as you see with Tenet, right, you have the E's that are repeated, you have the T's that are repeated, but the whole idea is like allowing language to function in a grid and also make sense, to be cohesive. So on the right side, there I was like going through trying to find as many things about like word squares, and came upon this this linguist Dmitry Borgman, who had who's related to like this 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 college, and they were like archiving all these different essays. Actually, I probably should get, I believe it's called common no, it's not undercommons. Why am I thinking about Fred? It's, oh man, it's like every time when I was doing this, let me just let y'all know, when I was doing this, I was like, yo, there's more stuff that I need to keep on like inputting. So every time I like talk about something, I'm like, oh, I can put that in there and that in there, like, and it's just now it's all kind of coming to me, but I need to follow the path. So this on the right side, we have the same word square, but you see how it is broken up, right? We have the vowels and we have the consonants. So in there, I felt like that was the most, it felt very striking, or it felt like it explained the form of even square poems a lot. In which case, sometimes I believe that like nouns are the consonants and then verbs are the vowels, right, of a given sentence. So whenever you have like the S right there and the T's and the R, right, I might put a noun there, light. And one of the things I think about are the what you call it. We're actually going to get ready to make one. Actually get ready to make one right now. So what I want everyone to do, we're going to actually create a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 by 5 word square, but square poem, not word square, not this. We're going to use actual words in these grids. So I want you to create a 5 by 5. And so we're going to start very easy. I'm not going to have you do like everything that but we're going to fill out the boxes, but I want you to just get your paper and pen and draw, make sure you have 5 boxes. So it's going to be 25 boxes in total. And so once you have that, you see where, and I'll actually get ready to show you. Let me exit out of this so I can, there we go. Let me get ready. Do y'all see this? It says that it shows another, it's an empty square. It's an empty one right in front of me. It's a Word doc. I probably need to stop sharing it. Yeah, I'll probably reshare the whole thing. Maybe I should show everything. Ugh, let me just do that. All right, so let's say this one is a 6 by 6, but it's sort of the same thing. What I want y'all to do basically in some of the boxes, you're going to fill it with and, all right? So pretty much you want to have like a checkered board version of this where you have and coming up all around. Yeah, actually it probably should have been 4 by 4 now that I'm looking at it. But either way, no matter what, is definitely going to work. So you want to have like a checkerboard version of this. And once you have a checkerboard version of this where the ands are always in every other box, every other cell, horizontally and vertically, the last thing I want you to do is to really fill in the fill in the boxes. But I want you to fill it in with verbs, ing words, gerunds, verbs that sort of describe anything that you were doing today. So I might say walking. I might have said eating. Might have, well, now that I am doing this, talking, writing, breathing, just anything that you were doing today. Really anything. Don't try and make it a stream of thought. And when you're done, just like I'm gonna get ready to stop screen sharing this part. But when you're done, just give a thumbs up. So anything that you were doing today. And also, if anyone wants to kick us off, actually, you can even read the piece. Just like raise your hand and like we can go to you so you can read it out loud if you want, just to share us what you're doing, walking and talking and breathing and eating and shopping and I don't know, whatever else. Yes, using Excel is another actually. Oh man, I have an Excel sheet. Oh man, I need to get that to you. Megan, please go ahead. Did I see a raised hand by Megan? No. Okay. Okay, no worries. But yeah, anyone else? Anyone else that would like to? Oh yeah, screenshots too. Yeah. Nice, thank you. Let's see what we have. Oh man, I'm trying to open it. Actually, is it Carly, are you able to read what was just submitted?
Sure.
Thank you.
Sakarja had one in the chat. Thank you. Okay. And I'll read theirs. Working and stretching and typing and texting and scrolling and a meeting and pacing and eating and stretching and planning and drinking and typing and planning.
Nice. Thank you. And one more just for Zach, and then we'll move on. Zach just put something in there.
You want me to read it?
Oh yeah, Zach, please, if you can.
Sure. Writing and eating and biking and teaching and walking and listening and emailing and showering and talking and preparing and watching and thinking and waiting and multitasking and drinking and.
Thank you. So I'm about to screen share. Oh man, it really feels like I'm gonna be like jumping all around this presentation thingamajig, because y'all doing everything at the same time. So like what y'all just did, I'll just go here. So what y'all just did is that y'all have this, and it sounds very simple. You're making a list, but all lists are great ways to enter poetry. And I mean, there's plenty of people here who are either new, but also who are very what you call it, very what's the word, very experienced in the realm of writing poetry. And so lists might have been one of those prompts that you were given. So the thing about that list, about the I'm trying to figure out if I can just, there we go. I wish there was a way to, there we go. I was trying to, wow. You see, my thing is actually messing up a little bit, my computer. I'm trying to zoom in, but it is actually, let me see if I can do that. All right, there we go. So right there, I'm gonna move this around a little bit so you can sort of see it. So as you see those X and Ys, so that type of list was something that I worked on, right? Pouncing and dogs, grieving gods, pouncing, pray, there we go. Oh, excuse me, I didn't even put that there. On the right side, within intimacy or longing creates moonlight. I think what I'm getting at, because I thought that one of this had the and, there we go. The bottom right, over here, moving and dreaming and running and moving. And already you can create these poems to create a 3D poem, which can allow them to move in not only just 2 directions, but 3 directions, and be moved into, where the previous word can move into it, and right? But here, right here above, I was sort of experimenting with it, right? And you can even sort of like try and push other words right here. I had and prey, pouncing dogs, and cats and gods, grieving dogs, dogs grieving gods, gods pouncing prey. And so like you can keep on going in different directions like that. So that's all I wanted to show y'all that before my computers. Let me back up a little bit, see how that's all the way off. Now my presentation is messed up. All right, let's start from the beginning again for like the 5th time. So with word squares, we have like a whole history in square poems, square poetry, where you have like this famous poem, Star Gauge by Su Wei. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing it. There's plenty of names in here that I'm gonna be trying to work through. But Star Gauge was one of those incredible poems that could be read in any direction. written in the 4th century. And it was basically this this amazing poet. She wrote a poem when her husband was exiled from their land, and then he had to leave. But then he swore to never marry again. But as soon as he left, and as soon as he settled in his new home, he actually married. And so she wrote this as a way of sort of recounting, and also I believe it was considered actually almost like a letter in a sense to him. So all these different directions in which I wonder, different directions of betrayal, sadly. So here we go. So not only does this exhibit the constraints of the square poem, it also functions as a palindrome. So in this piece, let me try and zoom in a little bit so I can see a little bit clearer. And this is only a small section, but as we see, like, these poems can be read vertically, horizontally, but also in reverse. Let me see what the chat's saying. Oh yeah, wow, right. So it's going in all these different directions, and it's still like working or creating other hidden meanings. And so what I love about the square poem is how it is demanding of us to not only to write something that's heartfelt, but it kind of demands us to like see how that same language could be altered into a new like in a new emotional context. So if it was sad on one end, written read horizontally, it might have a more uplifting feeling vertically. Not to say that this poem is doing that same thing, but definitely other poems that I really love are kind of like functioning in this way. So we can keep on going. The tradition of grids. Grids have many forms and functions, and you probably have seen them. There is like what you call it, crossword puzzles in which people have like created poems. And right over here we have actually this crossword right on the left, Word Hunt by Douglas Kearney. I particularly like this one because of the fact that I'm interested in how you can use the grid in order to make sense. But I was really like blown away about how Douglas Kearney specifically put in like a word search and was able to write out a word without it ever being written correctly in any direction, horizontally, vertically, diagonally, in no direction, but it's still, obviously it resonates through. So I think that was like one just like way of capturing that. But on the right side, we have a chessboard poem. Now, when I found this, I was really excited, but also like it was using musical notes. I was like, hold on, we have a chessboard poem and it's talking about music. Nice bridge between the worlds. I love it. But I was also like wondering why they call it a chessboard poem, and then creating a kind of like a song that resonates from it. But that was just my own question. But I love how it looks, and there's so many things that you can do in your grids, right? You can decorate it. You can try and add other types of symbols that has other meanings for you, and it can extend to so many different places. So let me just keep on going. Y'all can still, oh yeah, y'all should still be able to see, but just in case, let me just. So right here, we have Gendun Shopel, who was a Tibetan monk from the early 1900s, and he wrote also a grid poem in his language, and which was apparently where it was syllabic, if I'm not mistaken. I have to like reread some of the history, but I have the book. I thought basically in each cell you have some words, but that are also broken up, where they may not actually have the same type of sense in one cell as it would have with two. So I believe that was an amazing one. On the right side, we have an excerpt from Elliot Weinberger's Angels and Saints. He was talking about the history of grid. I think they called it like grid poems, not square poems, but basically using using letters as a way of also like creating these words, almost like pretty much like a word search, or like a actually like a word square, to be honest. That probably is its most literal definition. And it's able to function, vertically, horizontally, and have and create its sense. But I believe it's in the Latin language, so I would not be able to translate this to you in any way. So going forward into the history of it, I was very interested when I saw Khadija Queen, an amazing poet who has the book Anodyne, where this poem is in double wind glass. And in Anodyne, she has a few grid poems, but she uses, obviously you see in the squares, she uses many words. So in this one, she has under volcanic moon shadow, double twilight, entablature, took the honeycomb, infatuates, city moss, in lateral sail, chapels, bees, grotto, whitelit, a sibilant invocation on dawn's broad summit, a glad populace afar, a whole-mouthed sea. And you can read it in many different ways, and you can have an under volcanic moon shadow, city moss and lateral sail, a sibilant invocation, double twilight, entablature, took chapels, bees, grotto, whitelit, on dawn's broad summit, the honeycomb infatuates, a glad populace afar, a whole-mouthed sea. So, oh, man, I have to zoom in. Carly, can you, because I can't see anyone. Did you see me just zoom in right quick?
I did. Yeah, it looks good.
Great. So reason why I have to zoom in right quick, y'all gotta see this. So the thing about this is that in here she's using many different words in a single cell. But I love how right here, right in the double twilight entablature, then the M dash took the honeycomb, right? If you read it vertically, took the honeycomb. Now, in the whole context, the honeycomb infatuates, took the honeycomb infatuates, might not, at least in my ear, make the type of sense that I'm looking for in order to understand it. But the break, the oh man, it's not a caesura, but the stanza break, in a sense, from the honeycomb to infatuates, right? It allows us to be like, oh, took the honeycomb. It took the honeycomb, and then we have a break, we have a breather, and then infatuates city moss in lateral sail, right? The infatuates becomes like a jump off point into the next cell, or infatuates a glad populace afar, right? But right here, when you go from vertically on dawn's broad summit, the honeycomb infatuates, right? Now you can almost read them together as they're being read in a different direction. So one thing that I would like to highlight about grid and square poems, from the last ones that we saw, they don't have punctuation that, at least that we can see. All right, there might be other forms of punctuation within the language that is what you call it, recognizable of when you take a pause. But at least in the, let's say the punctuation that is normally used in the English language, right, we don't see that. But here, right, punctuation is useful. It's another element that can at least help Latin languages. Maybe not other languages. Other languages probably have a little more flexibility with how we understand a line. But in the Latin languages, we might need certain other symbols in order to understand, like when things are, contracted, or when things are having a comma, taking a pause, all that. So Khadija Queen, as we see over there, was inspired by Pizarnik. Alejandra Pizarnik, I believe, who's an amazing poet, Latin poet. Oh man, I feel like I'm getting so nervous. I'm like, yo, I should know everything about every little thing so I can like explain this to you, because I'm so excited. But Pizarnik is an amazing poet that you definitely should read, but also the main star that she also highlights throughout her other poems is Mark McMorris, who had this book called trying to figure out where it is in it's right around here. I believe it's called the Book of Landings. Yep, it's called the Book of Landings. And so in here, he also had grid poems where he is kind of like using certain words that are so striking that we kind of like even understand the context even without any other like certain verbs or like what you call it, prepositions in between in order to give sense. We kind of like understand what it means about exile, dungeon, voyager, Dakar, scatter. Even in just those few words, at least people with an understanding of like the recent history might assume that it might have something to do with the African slave trade and the diaspora. So within that, like we already see that even if you're not attempting on the right side with McMorris, even if you're not trying to make sense, understanding to have certain words that relate to one another, that are associated with one another, does a great deal with creating the richness of a poem, just by having words that are sitting together, right? And so I think that idea of being together or being in words being in succession with one another to create that meaning is also one of the deep just the deep elements of square poems that I think is really fun to look at. So we're gonna keep on going. Let me make sure the time. All right, Lewis Carroll. Lewis Carroll, Dimitri Borgman, they did their square poems. I often wondered when I cursed, often feared where I would be, wondered where she'd yield her love. When I yield, so will she. I would her will be pitied. Cursed be love, she pitied me. So in this sense, when I saw this, I was blown away. And also I was even blown away by the parts that I didn't either fully understand or didn't fully like. I think what's amazing about the square poem is that if you find a certain line that feels like in your ear doesn't really resonate with you, like, I don't even know how, like, that makes sense, but everything else sort of is like forming into place, I think that is a really good sign, because I think that's a nice opening for you to be like, well, how would I write this in my own language in order to create a sense that I feel like would be a little bit more cohesive than this one. So I think that line with I would her will be pitied kind of like struck a little bit. And then cursed be love. Well, it's not necessarily about trying to understand it to a T or get it right, but to play with it and to understand what the logic of this poem and interact with it so that I can hopefully extend it to my will. So Dimitri Borgman did this poem, this piece in 1968. And he had like many very good boys will come home, very long odes, tiresome lads, merry, good odes, read with elan, stir and, boys tire with work, come anew, will some elan come back with rest, come lads, stir anew with that much, home, Marianne will rest much less. That makes much less sense for me than the Lewis Carroll, but once again, I think it's about the flow, about the word order, and how we can look at a poem. I think sometimes the pressure of reading comes where we feel like we have to understand the sentences at the very beginning or at some point. But also, I think the flow of the language from the sound also to the order of the parts of speech is also useful to see what type of techniques that are being used in a given poem that we might be able to replicate, but in a way that we understand. So, this was Lewis Carroll. I was talking about this, but I'm gonna, based on the time, let's gonna just keep on going. Actually, I want to show you just one more. Okay, here we go. For another thing is that square poems come in also in other forms. Meaning there's a poet named Golden. They're an amazing there's an amazing poet who just had a book out, blank out on the title, but please look them out on Instagram and Twitter for their book. And Golden did this suite, I believe was it a year or two ago, something like that. And they had a suite called Quadrennial, and it was in the Poetry Project. I believe it was published there. And on there, they have these suite of poems that are rethinking about they're taking, let's say, I'll just read some of it. Let me just get into it. Another Black life is America's property, and I am tired of history's repetition. Black life is America's property, and I am tired of history's repetition. Another life is America's property, and I am tired of history's repetition. Another Black is America's property, and I am tired of history's repetition. And it keeps on going, right? And one of the key moments that I understood from this poem, just structurally, is we have the first line, which is 13 words, which I thought was very on the nose, since talking also about America and maybe think about the 13 colonies perhaps, and then Black life within that, the context, or maybe it's not, it could be just coincidence. But another Black life is America's property, and I am tired of history's repetition. So then they take the word another, right, and they put it, and let me actually just zoom in just a little bit, my bad. They take another and just move it to the end of the line, so that Black life is starting that sentence. Black life is America's property, and I am tired of history's repetition. You have another right there, but then you take black, and you also take it to the back, right? So now you start off with life. Life is America's property, and I am tired of history's repetition. Another Black is, and then it keeps on going. Now, the reason why I'm so like excited about this is because even though I don't know what their process was, but there's ways of entering forms, and I think that's when poets, they always like, oh, let the poem sort of like find its form, is also understanding that the syntax that you exhibit on the page, the type of emotions that you want to put on the page has its own form, and sometimes it can lend itself so easily to some popular forms that might have been popularized throughout the country or wherever. So in this one, you can go down the line. Another Black life is America's property, and I am tired of history's repetition. Another, now another starts here. Another, now you go to the second word of every line. Another Black life is America's property, and I am tired of history's repetition. Another Black life. Now you go to the third word, right? So it actually works horizontally and vertically. So like, however they entered this poem, it also lends itself to the idea of the square poem. They didn't call it the golden square. I just call it the golden square, like, pun for pun purposes. All right. So looking at the time, all right, I think this would actually be a good time to have folks, let me actually exit out of this right quick and sort of revisit folks to see how they can take their poem, that 5x5 that they already did, about the things that they did, and actually let's sort of like, do some magic a little bit with it. So with something, let me actually go to the, let me make sure that I have that. Also, if there are any questions, I don't know if I went through a lot or I went through a little. So if there are any questions, as I get ready to screen share, please either put in the chat or just talk. And all right, it's making sense. Great. Let me go. So with your square poems, right? I might just say sweating because that's what I'm doing right now. So now, like, stuttering. I'm gonna fill in the last one a little bit later. But so now let's say that we have this, right, and we want to do something else. One thing that I'll definitely love to invite you to do is to actually, we're gonna be taking some of these words, probably the things like and figure out other certain type of words that we can fill in. So now what I want you to do is that I'm gonna start here. If I have walking, I might say walking after. I might put a preposition, and for folks just need a reminder. Also, I just need a reminder sometimes, because sometimes I'll be doing some things, I'm like, I know that's different, but what is that part of speech? And so be like doing blah 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 blah. So I'm gonna be probably going back over some basic things that people probably already have in their head or not, but refresher is needed. So walking, then a preposition. What a preposition we can, there are many different types of prepositions, but one right here that we can use is the word after, which is kind of like this temporal notion of what is happening, what the verb or noun, what is it doing time-wise? Is it is the walking being done before, after, while, etc., all those things. So I want you to make a choice with the type of preposition of like that first verb. Were you doing it before, after, while, I almost want to say instead of, but you have those two words. So let's try and keep it as one word. So really I want you to select a preposition that can go there. So I'm going to have walking after eating, and I'm going to leave the and right there. And down here, I might have walking before sweating and after. So as you see, walking before sweating and after talking, right? So now it's starting to sort of create a little bit of stuff. So take some time, and you can decide what those prepositions will be. And when you're done, punctuation. So we need to know, when does the line stop, because we can just keep on going on and on and on. But something like walking before talking, I might take a pause there, right? I might ask myself to put an M dash in order to be like, that's where the line is going to stop. And then when you keep on going, right, you have walking after eating. So now I might actually, what I want people to do is to look at this pattern that's kind of emerging. I wanted to do it naturally, but I'll just like show it. Walking before sweating, right? And then I have that M dash. That's to show where the sentence stops. And you see how that M dash is both on this, this cell, and lastly, this cell, right? It's on that diagonal. So you want to make sure that that M dash or the period, whatever is more comfortable and noticeable for you. I use the M dash because it's like very noticeable. It's very in your face. But you're going to put that on the diagonal. And when you're done with that, when you have those periods there, right, now you have a whole bunch of ands that are also in that diagonal. That opens it up for you to change it. So let's say, I might actually want to create some adjectives. Might describe what type of writing that I'm doing. So I might actually say slow writing, right? But it's like, here's the thing, when you're kind of like going through this, you're going to be slowly editing, and then when you work vertically, you might be like walking after eating, slow before talking. Now that might not make so much sense, right? So now you might actually say, you might have to choose a different word and ask yourself, how are you feeling, let's say, before talking, right? And so there are those type of words that you might even say, beautiful writing, right? But beautiful before talking. Now, here's the thing, when you see that, oh, before talking, for me, in my sense, that can work for you, and that can be the end of it all. But for me, in my sense, I might be like, before might need a little bit more. So I might be like beautiful before talking. No, I'm beautiful while talking. So I might switch before to make it a different type of a different preposition that can help walking while sweating. And now it makes a lot of sense. And then walking after eating, beautiful while talking. Now it's starting to make a little bit more sense, slowly but surely. So here we go. So I want we're gonna take a few minutes. We're at 3:02. Let's take actually just about 5 minutes or so. I want you to we're just focused on the verbs and the prepositions, right? And then like those ands, you might be able to mix that up and see what else you can do with it. But let's take it just about like 5 minutes, and I just want you to play with that. And let me just put it up here. Preposition, so that you know what to put. And that'll be that. We'll just take a pause on that, and then I can continue. So we're at 3:02, so around 3:07. Wow, I just exited the screen share. That made no sense. Here you go. Let's figure out. So I'm gonna actually work on it in real time as well. Oh, sort of like talk lightly. So walking, is it eating beautiful while talking? And I might put another preposition here. Because this is sort of a period, I might put I'm, because I'm starting afresh, so I'm breathing before something. I don't know what I'm breathing before. I'm stuttering. I might want to continue. I might even want to continue to figure out what it can do with eating. Talking. Now I'm just getting a little bit creative. You can also get creative, and you can go outside of the structure. If you find there's a different type of word that sort of like works for you, please do that for you. Yeah, there. Talking. There's writing, sweating. Nice. Okay. I want to keep it writing, because writing does sweat sometimes. It does get a little tense. There's writing, sweating, there's breathing, and beautiful so now there's breathing and goes up, beautiful writing before, but there's breathing and beautiful writing before, I'll say twilight, or nighttime. Let me actually just go there, nighttime. So now at the very end, y'all might want to put a noun. Where is that grid gonna land? All right, folks, we're at 3:05, so a few more minutes to work on this. So go back to the preposition I said before. Actually, let me put it underneath. No, I can do it. Or eating. Prepositions, something that shows where you're doing a while. So now I'm almost done sweating. Now, sometimes you might have an and. I think in those moments, right, before the writing, those ing verbs, right, I've put in beautiful, but also you might have other types of emotions. Yeah, I probably would say saddened or sad. I might put sad stuttering in nighttime, or I might say saddened stuttering in nighttime. Actually, oh, I think in this moment, I think I'm actually pretty much done for now. So we're almost at 306. Well, no, not almost. 306. Great. Thank you, Rin. All right, so we're at 307. All right. So let me so everyone, so now we're at 307. So let's say in this piece, right? So right here, walking before eating, beautiful while talking. There's writing sweating. I'm breathing before sad and stuttering in nighttime. And before, you might even say before sad and stuttering, as in like you're in front of as well. But you can have I'm breathing before and I might even switch it. I might switch and send like, because I'm like, oh, this doesn't really make sense the way I want it to. So instead of saddened, I might just say sad. I'm breathing before sad stuttering in nighttime. That has like a little bit more of a clean flow for myself. And then sad before, and then when you go vertically, walking while sweating, sad before talking. I'm stuttering, eating. So now we have something there. I'm like, I'm stuttering, eating. I might want to switch eating or something. I might want to switch. I might want to switch into words. I'm stuttering words, right? But now over here, you see walking before words. I might want to something is not quite working. And I think walking before words might not get the type of the type of flow that I'm looking for. So instead of before, I might just switch it to another preposition. This is where you take out the preposition. Sometimes their prepositions are not just words are not binary in the sense of like they're a verb or not, they're a noun or not. Sometimes they actually can be both nouns and verbs. Sometimes they prepositions, if I'm not mistaken. Prepositions can be other types of prepositions or other types of other types of verbs, if I'm not mistaken. Then you have like so I might say walking after words, right? That might be something that I'm a little bit more fine with. So I'm stuttering words, there's breathing and beautiful writing before nighttime. So it kind of comes together. And I think this is, oh, let's see what we have here. Yes, oh man. So it's funny that you should bring up Lately Long Soldier, because I have a poem in this, in this pamphlet that brings her up. So the evidence of grids not seen. We see right here, Khadijah Queen, and wow. All right, so I put this twice. But I wanted to put it side by side because in this poem with Lately Long Soldier, you can actually look at this as if it's a grid, and where you have like the as we being in one box, embrace being in another box, resist being in another box. And then we have a flow of words. We have like the as we and then embrace, right? Resist, both are verbs. The future, the present, the past, the noun phrases. We work, we struggle, we begin, we fail, right? Verb phrases. To understand, to find, to unbraid, to accept, to question, still verb. The grief, the grief, the grief, the grief, the noun. We shift, we wield, we bury, verb. Into light, as ash. Into light, I believe this would be a prepositional phrase where we're the into is like we're trying to show what direction that we want to move into or out of, right? As ash, and then across our faces. That's where the piece ends. So I think that's actually another way of like understand. Like if you look at poems like this, find a poem in a certain shape that can help you make sense of like how to go in different directions. Is understanding that nouns and verbs are kind of like doing this sort of back and forth thing in order to make sense. And we can look at the way that children, kind of like form their language in the very beginning. Sometimes they might just have nouns, water, or I mean, I think that might be a little bit complicated, but juice. That's probably a more common one, juice. But then they might start to be like give juice, right? Or outdoor. I don't know. I don't know what children be saying nowadays. They might be actually be way more sophisticated than that. But as some of us know, definitely my niece's sister is she be talking. She does all types of words and language stuff. So what you call it? So in that sense is that we're understanding how do we get back to our original state of developing language and forming language, and looking at the pattern in that. When we're kind of like looking at poetry, we're kind of like we're assimilating the music of others, and sometimes music is enough in order to develop your vocabulary, to develop your whole corpus of beautiful language. But how do we take a little bit more agency and understand what is happening so that we know when we can shift our flow, our music? How can we shift our flow? Do we have to stay in one register? And I think for something like square poems, for the last thing before we sort of like end it off, is that with square poems, what I noticed that it teaches for me, and I think it can help others, is that if we have, I'm really trying to get in it. Let me see, current slide, there we go. So now, right here, we have soft songs, right? That starts the sentences, start the sentence. Soft voices, right? We have that that adjective that is beginning. But here, voices in nights spark while our burning dread resemble beasts imitating choruses. So now voices being the noun is starting off the sentence. What other? We have the article, right? The is now starting off the sentence from here, the unearthed. But then you have like the harmonious fire. The is also starting this line. We have flames, right? We have so many different parts of speech that can begin a line. And I think that is very instructive because I've noticed in certain poems, the masters do this purposefully. But when I was looking at someone like Lee Young Lee, I was noticing there's a whole bunch of articles that are starting these sentences, or a whole bunch of pronouns that are starting these sentences. And that becomes a type of rhythm, a type of music. But if we are trying to undo that and trying to choose when we are starting sentences with what, I think that can allow for a lot of different flexibility, variety, and general variance. That's what we're looking for. So I think I'll kind of stop there. I'm like, yo, I didn't get to half of the, what you call it. I had so much to share, y'all. I was like, let me just skim through some of this stuff. Oh, this is going, I don't know why it's not, yeah, there we go. Yeah, I just had so much to share. Like someone, I'm not gonna waste this. Y'all gonna see these pictures. All right, showing, I was doing like Amanda Johnston. She has like amazing poem that was doing with contrapuntals of 5 columns, but not even gonna get into that. I was drawing. This is actually the last thing I'm gonna say is that going forward, what we earlier did, I told you about that whole 3-dimensional poem. Let me actually really cap it off with this last thing of like where it could be headed. There we go. So where the square poem could be headed, we see that this is going in 2 directions, and it can go in many more directions. I had this in case I can send like these grids in case folks want to look. But here I had this piece, and I'll just quickly go through it. So I had 3 different square poems, and these 3 different square poems, I'll just read it. So our life's extending inside the past. hungers. Oh, sorry, I didn't get to put even the punctuation. Our life's extending inside the past hungers light memories. Our inside hungers light. And that's why I didn't even put any of the punctuation. Our inside hungers. Inside hungers. Oh yes, there we go. Hungers. Life's the light extending past memories. Minds shadowed houses, decayed spoiled light, the grieving water. Minds decayed, the shadowed, spoiled grieving, houses light water. Protect light memories, sadness seeds flooding inside water houses. Protect souls inside light grieving water, memories flooding houses. And what I know, and this is not, because I still have to put punctuation and stuff, this is actually still a work in progress, but this is getting to a place where I'm actually loving it. The thing is that you can also have like these words go where our minds protect, right? Life's shadowed light, extending houses memories. So then it starts to create a different type of poem when you go inward. Our minds protect life's shadowed light, extending over memories inside numbered souls. The spoiled seeds past light floods, hungers the inside, light grieving water, memories water houses. And on the flip side, that was going sort of horizontally inward. Now it's vertically inward. Our minds protect inside number souls, hungers the inside, life's shadowed light, the spoiled seeds, light grieving water, extending over memories, past light floods, memories, water houses. And I was doing it 3x3 because I didn't want to like stress myself, but it still was stressful. But I think if you expand it into even like possibly 5x5 and know how to put in like certain types of articles and prepositions and all those things in a complicated way, I'm sure that it actually works in that way too. So I'm gonna take a pause there. I feel like that was like a workout. So thank you so much, Carly, and thank you so much everyone for being here and listening. Yeah.
Yeah, that was amazing. If folks want to unmute, snaps, claps, Zoom, party horns.
Yeah.
All of that.
Great.
Excellent.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Thanks, y'all.
Thank you.
Such a pleasure. And Nkosi, a few questions that have come up. Would you be willing to share the materials that you developed for this, like either as links or attachments or something, and I can put those in the agenda if you're.
Yeah, I'll definitely send some. I can't send all of the handwritten stuff right now, but definitely like there's plenty of lists of poets who've done this before that y'all definitely need to be hit to. So I definitely will.
Cool. That sounds awesome. And Kate says you should write a book on this, and I agree.
Yeah. I'm like, yo, every time I'm like, yo, there's so much in this little thing, and it's like a chapter. I'm like, yo, it's too much to just put an hour. But I thank y'all for bearing with it.
Yeah, and if you have time, we can hang around, and if there's questions for Nkosi, hang around. But I know many of you have other things to get to, and I really appreciate everybody spending their Friday lunch hour, Friday afternoon with us. If you saw in the agenda, we have a lot of other really cool events coming up. Let's see, they're all on the website, which I updated yesterday. So they're all there. Peruse and RSVP to the ones that look interesting to you. Again, for those of you who haven't come to an If Then event before, we usually do stuff sort of along the lines of creative computation, and are really excited to have Nkosi's work sort of as part of that lineage of creative computational work, with his sort of procedural analog stuff with square poems. So thanks y'all for coming. I really appreciate Nkosi being here and sharing his brilliance and his work and his sort of vast historical knowledge with us. And I hope to see many of you next time. And we'll stick around if that's all right with you, if you have any questions. All right.
Yeah.
Thanks, folks. And thank you, Nkosi. That was amazing. And I hope I
Thank
didn't
you.
volunteer too much of your time.
No. I was really really excited for it. Yeah. Yeah. The time, it felt like minutes just go by much faster.
Yes.
Than in a